It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, June 5th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Health is Happiness, the Bible History Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is Wednesday. We're already at the middle of the week, and it's very, very strange for me because, Eddie is doing the Tuesdays, so I have this break on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm trying to figure out to myself what I should be doing, but I realize, I'm already preparing for the Wednesday podcast and such. It's quite interesting what I'm having this day off and learning what to do with this day. And I know that since I have my live stream coming today, this morning, I do have to take that time on Tuesday, which is great because it allows me to prepare and make sure I have videos ready to go so that we can do a more amazing content on the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. So in a few hours, for those of you guys in Asia, in just a few hours, there will be the live stream at 9 a.m. Malaysia and 10 a.m. Korea. Or if you want to get more, if it's going to go by the largest countries, it's 9 a.m. Taiwan and 10 a.m. Korea. And of course, everyone over there in America and Canada, it's going to be probably by the time you hear this, it's already over. It'll be Wednesday for you guys, but it's Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, so I am very excited as usual. And I hope that you guys are going to be gaining a lot from it too. Okay. Don't forget, guys. Every single Thursday, which is tomorrow, we do have Q&A Thursday. So make sure you get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And for today's video, right now, go ahead and smash that like button. Leave a comment to build our community. I'm just very grateful and thankful for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, and a great message it is, Realize the Meaning of Dream Revelations. And those of you guys who didn't listen, some of you only listened to the word study. Some of you guys listened to only the last segment. It really depends. Some people like certain segments and don't like other segments. However, if you didn't hear it yesterday from the Sunday message word study, the reason why this week's message about dream revelations is so big for me is because I had this crazy dream last week. Not sure what it means, but all the hints and all the advice needed to interpret this dream came out in the message. And of course, one of the big ones is you have to interpret it, compare it to reality. What's it in reality? And the dream that I had, and I'm pretty excited about it because I'm only thinking physically. Of course, I need to think spiritually too, but my eldest uncle on my mom's side, and he basically gave me two options. And he says, I give you $5 million. We're talking like, it's most likely US or Canadian. So he says, you got $5 million, or you could take the mystery box. Risk it. Risk this $5 million and take the mystery box. And I thought, and in my head, at that moment in the dream, I was like, I'm a risk taker. So I said, give me the risk. I want the mystery box. And then my uncle handed me a check for like $22 million. So I was like, whoa, it's so crazy. And then I woke up. Now, one thing that's kind of hazy to me is I'm not sure if it was 22 or 80. It's one of the two, but it's a ridiculous amount of money anyways. But I don't even know if it's physical. Is it, when I compare it to reality, is it possible? And I don't know, to be honest. My uncle is not wealthy. So that when I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that might not be, reality. However, in Korea, he's a landowner, so maybe something crazy can happen, and I don't know. But for me, I'm just like, I wonder what that means. Some type of blessing that I'm going to receive for taking a risk. And I'm not sure what that is, but should be quite interesting. And I'm waiting to, waiting through prayer and understanding what God wants to say to me through that dream too. Now, we're already here at the middle of the week. Hope you're enjoying the first week after Alpha Day. And when you it's very interesting because for about 2 weeks now, I've been very, very focused on evangelism. And even in the messages, Sunday messages, the Alpha Day message, the emphasis is on evangelism, right? So when I look at this, I'm like, man, this is something that we really got to get ourselves into, prepare ourselves, get ourselves ready. And I think one of the things that you guys want is like a script segment. And I think that's a good idea. I think it's going to help all of us to really be able to prepare ourselves so that we can connect people to the word right away. So I am thinking about what day I should do the script segment. Not sure yet, but I'm going to try to figure out what day we're going to do that. So I hope that this will be something beneficial for all people when it comes to evangelism. Maybe I'm going to go out on campus and start interviewing people so you guys can hear it on this podcast, me talking to these people and seeing what they think about God. What's the number one thing they think about more? And I would say, of course, it's very, very different from my generation I'm living in. So it is something that I am thinking about a lot. I was watching this podcast, and I'm not sure if you know this comedian. His name is Jimmy Carr. He's from the UK. Very highly intelligent. And here's one thing that I do think we have to think about. I was listening to Jordan Peterson before, and he says that highly intelligent people are going to be high in verbal usage or high verbal ability. So people who speak very, very well are usually highly intelligent, highly capable, and very extroverted, right? They're like super extroverts. And when I was listening to him, he's very intelligent. And when I was listening to him, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So he was talking about how self-help books are always about, hey, self-help books will say it's not about the destination, it's the process. And then all of a sudden you'll hear another self-help book saying it's not about the process, it's about what you get accomplished in the end. But then he said something very interesting. And he said it's actually not about either of them. They're both important. But then he said something that really kind of made me think deeply. And he said, it's not about the process or the destination. It's more about what person have you become through this process, through this experience, which includes both the process and the destination. After all the things that you've done, all the things the destinations you've reached, who have you become through it? And I thought that was a very deep way of looking at things. And this is something that Sunseem does talk about is, can you make yourself? And I think that's kind of the key thing that Sunseem says too is, yeah, you know what? You're going to go through experiences here and there, but what's the point of the experiences? What's the point of us going through, putting the words of God into action, going through the process, going to find destinations? It is to change yourself, to make yourself better, to be shining brightly, to become people that are absolute people of God that you look at and people say, wow, these people are amazing. You know, it's about who do we become? And you know, when you think about all the different things that we go through in life, the interesting thing is we constantly go through things in life, constantly. We go through them, we go through different destinations, different processes, and after one is done, we go to the next one. But the bigger question is, who will you end up becoming at the end of that actual thing? And one thing I started to think deeply was, we got to see ourselves and what has changed about ourselves during the process and after reaching the destination or goal. And if we're thinking in this light, like, hey, I'm going to go through this in my life. It's going to be hard. I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through that. But the number one thing that matters to me, since I'm going to be going through this constantly all over my life anyways, what kind of person am I going to be when I come out of it? Who will I be at the end of this? And I was like, that is something that seems to be the wiser way of looking at things. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I'm trying to implement it into what Sunseem says about shining brighter, developing yourself, making yourself better. And I think that if we're too focused on the end point, the process may be done incorrectly or even in an evil way. And if we think too much about the process means nothing without actually reaching the goal, or let's just say fulfilling the will that God has set out for us to do, right? So that is why I was thinking about this, like, yeah, ultimately our lives here on this earth are so temporary. It's really temporary. things come and go. We're going to come and go. I look at my life now, I'm more than halfway through my life. If I'm halfway now, I'm going to live to like 92, which is a lot. And I'm going to probably the last 15 years of my life, I'm not going to be someone who's going to be able to do as much as I do right now. And this life is going to come and go. But what person, who am I going to be that in the future, when people look back at the disciples of this time period about people in Providence, who am I going to be? And I looked at that and I said, that's really interesting. And it's a better way for me to look at this too. So that is something that makes me think even more deeply about my life and who I am too. You know, yesterday I did talk a little bit, not yesterday, on Monday, I talked about harmony. And, I've been kind of researching, looking at harmony. And you look at some of the organizations in the world that are very harmonious. And they said that one of the most harmonious organizations in the world is like the Army, the Navy, the Marines. Very harmonious because I was talking about on Monday is everyone has the same goal, the same purpose. They're all reaching towards the same place. So if that's the case, then who would be better than the Army, the Navy, or the Marines when they have that, they all have a specific goal? And it came down to this story. And I was listening to this story and I thought it was quite amazing. So there was this leadership consultant and he was doing some consulting in the Marine Corps. And what happened was one of the superiors came late and they said, hey, sorry, we had a big incident happen. And this leadership guru consultant was like, oh, what happened? Well, it looks like we might have to kick someone out of the Marines. And then he was interested. He was curious. He's like, oh, what did he do? Well, he fell asleep during watch at night. And this leadership consultant was like, whoa. It's like, doesn't that seem kind of petty? Like, they're not in real war. And they're actually in America just doing training. And people are going to make mistakes during training. That's why it's called training. So why would you want to kick this person out for such a small reason? And then the superior officer said, oh, it's not so much about the falling asleep during watch. The problem was when they confronted this person kept denying that they fell asleep. And only until they showed evidence, like video footage, irrefutable video footage, this is when that soldier said, okay, yeah, I did it wrong, and I take responsibility for my actions. Only after all the evidence was out did he admit and say that he would take responsibility. And they said that the reason why they would kick someone out like this is because more than liking someone, they need to find people that they can trust. People that are accountable for their actions. Not when people find out, but they're accountable to their actions even before people find out. And these are the people that you can trust with your life on the line. You may not like them, but the one thing you know for sure is they will take the responsibility and they will hold themselves accountable. And it really made me think even about leadership too. Because, leadership's a big thing that I always think about a lot. I look into it. I see what Sunseem says about leadership. But when you look at leadership, it's very interesting because when you look at these leadership traits, one of them is, do you trust them? It's not, do you like them? And I think when I was a head leader, one of the things that I was trying to go for is that people would like me. Do you know what I mean? It's because, you want to be liked. And you want to hang out with people. You want to crack jokes. And you want to be part of the group, right? Like part of the guys. And I think that was something that is not what people look for in a leader. Can you trust this leader in the most difficult times? Will this leader hold themselves accountable? Can you trust them? Right? Is a head leader supposed to be a friend? And I would say the larger and larger the church grows, the less and less this is important. The larger the church gets, the more you will not see the head leader. You will not have interactions with the head leader. If you look at Sunseem right now too, in the past when Providence was small, Sunseem kept saying, when we grow too big, you won't even be able to shake my hand. When it gets so big, Sunseem needs security. He needs more order. He needs less of the physical seeing him in regular times, and he has to work on the big picture stuff. And I thought it was very interesting when I was listening to that story, and I thought to myself is, yeah, this is something that we really should be thinking about too, is do people need to like us? And the answer is no. Leaders don't, like the liking is not top of the priority. The most important part is, can you trust them? Right? With your life, your spiritual life. And I think some people will get confused thinking that if I don't like them, I can't trust them with my spiritual life. And I think that's wrong too. Is this person spiritual? Is this person always thinking about what's best for the people at their level, what they're doing? And I thought it was a very awesome, inspiring, and interesting story too. So I thought it was something that I looked at it and thought, yeah, that's something that makes a lot of sense too. And I don't know, I would love to hear what you guys think about this also. I thought it was a very interesting story, but let me know what you guys think about this too, because, this is something that we're all trying to raise the level in. It's not about us judging each other or judging our leaders right now. It's about what can we do for the next stage, for the next level of providence. Because in 200 years, 300 years, if we're going to hit millions of people, we need to have great leadership, not just people filling in. We need great leadership. And I've been talking to one of these members who is thinking of going into leadership for Providence too. They're a little bit later age. They're over like 30, right? Over 30. And I was talking to them about mental exercises and how this is important for us to prepare ourselves for the future. And what we were doing is we were looking at what was going on in churches, events, and programs. And we were not sitting there questioning whether it was a good or bad decision. Because we're not there for the leadership meeting. We don't know why they're doing it. But we sat down together discussing about, well, we didn't really sit down literally because we're talking over over the internet. But we did a mental exercise on if you were to make a program that would fulfill this purpose, what are your pros and cons to this program? And would you do it differently? And when I was thinking about this, like, you know what? It all comes down to your audience. If it's an all-church program or event, then what would be the focus? How would you do the program? And it made me think back to what Sunseem said, I think it was like 2018 or 19. And he's talked about this before too. But Sunseem talked about leadership as the 20-80-20 leadership. 20-80-20 means 20% of your church are usually strong in faith. Not 20-80-20, sorry, 20-60-20, because that equals, what is it? That equals 120%, right? 20-60-20. 20% of your church are usually strong in faith. 60% is good, they just need guidance. And then 20% is usually always struggling. What does that mean? It means no matter how much you take care of them, they're always going to struggle about something. You guys have seen those people before. Is you say something, then they'll say, but what about this? Oh, but what about this? Like, even if you answer the question they had, they're still going to struggle. They're always going to have difficulties and problems, and that's going to be 20% of your church. And Sunseem said that with these 20% that struggle, no matter what you do, no matter how many questions you answer, they will always have problems. However, Sunseem says that big mistakes that leaders make is the leaders will only focus on the ones that are struggling the most, the 20%. And they will sit there, just trying to figure out how to get these struggling people to be better and better. And they'll do all these programs based on this 20%. Or the leaders will only focus on the ones that are really, really strong. So let me tell you through an analogy why these two things are not good. So the analogy is of a couple, a husband and wife. So let's just say two people get married. And one thing Sunseem does say is, like, you guys should have very similar level of faith. It should be quite balanced. Why? Because if one partner is way stronger in faith, the lower one's going to feel burdened, right? Because this super person faith is just dragging them, right? However, on the flip side, the person with better faith feels like they're being dragged behind because they have to wait for, this person is too low. So if you see that if the levels, if you focus on the lowest one, if you focus on the highest one, you focus on the lowest one, the people who are much faster and stronger, they're going to be bored. And if you focus on the fast people, man, the people who are at the very end, who are not very good, they're going to be struggling a lot. So what's left? Sunseem says the focus of leadership is not on the 20%, whether it's the top or the bottom. The focus is on the 60%. Focus on the 60%. The 60% is the majority of the church, and they're the ones who are good, and they're willing to try things if you make them really well. And remember, if you focus on the 60%, remember the 20% will always be there strong. They're always going to be there, which means that if you get the 60%, you have 80% of the church. The key thing a church needs to look at is who is your 60%? Is it campus? Is it SS? Is it career? Is it families, right? Who is the bulk of your 60%? And that's what you need to be aiming for. And that's what we started to discuss about. And remember, we were just, in this situation, we were talking about a church-wide event. Because in a regular situation, in a church that's a pretty decent size that has department leaders, most of the management education should be done by your department leaders. It should be. Remember, department leaders should be at the level of head leaders. The head leaders are not doing all the education, all the work, right? So the bulk of all management, even evangelism in your department, should be done within your department, not at the church-wide level when it comes to churches that are big enough. Of course, when you're a small church, you're doing everything, right? But when the churches are not big, when they're big enough, they all have their departments, everything should be done inside your department. That's the way it should be. Right? Most of your time, 80% of your time is inside your department. 80% of your evangelism, 80% of your management, everything is being done inside your department. The church level on those larger types of churches should not be doing all those things. And I think that's one of the hard parts, especially if you are a leader coming from a small church and then going to lead a bigger church, we start to think the exact same way to treat it like a small church, but we have to think about it in the larger sense. But it was very, very helpful. And it was something that me and this person were just thinking like, oh, what would you do here? Yeah. How do we get the 60%? Who is the 60% of our church? Because church to church, the 60% is all different, right? From one church to another, even to a country, where is your 60%? And personally, from all the churches that I've seen so far in Korea, in Taiwan, in Malaysia, America, Canada, and I'm pretty sure it's with the rest of the world. One thing I do see is that because of the pandemic and the 4 years where evangelism was quite dead, 2023, another extra year of dead evangelism, everyone's campus is shrunk. I would say mostly you're looking, probably families would be your number one department. Career would be your second largest. And then the SS in campus are probably going to be your smallest departments because of what happened over the last 5 years. So I found that to be very, very interesting. Right? So that's something I looked at and said, yeah, that's interesting. That's something that I do look at. And it's something where we do have to consider what is going on with the situation in the churches all around the world, right? So that's something that I was thinking about, and it was really good and nice to have leadership mental exercises. And remember, we were looking at programs and events that were already happening in churches. We were totally not talking about, oh, what a bad decision. These people are, no. We don't know what they discussed. But we discussed amongst ourselves, would you do this? What would be your purpose? What would be a purpose that would make this worth it? And what would be a purpose that would make it not worth it? And is it a good enough purpose, right? So I really enjoyed that mental exercise. And I hope it's something that we can also think about together too. Like, I would love to hear certain things inside your church. You know, of course, it's going to make a difference whether you're a small church to a large church. If you're having a certain event and it's not something that I want to look at and agree or disagree, oh, that's a great event, because I don't know the full process. But it would be nice to go into it ourselves and say, would we do this? Would this be worth it or not? So that is something that I thought, and I was looking at that too. So that's something that I hope that all of you guys will really, really think about also. And it's something that I think we can do together sometimes too when it comes to maybe some word studies we can do. I can maybe start doing some more word studies on Patreon also. Either way. Okay. So there it is, guys. That is segment number 1 for today. Of course, we have the Bible history word study. We're going to Exodus chapter 21 to 25. And then at the very end, we have health is happiness. So let's get into the first music break of the day.
Just like the rest, I walked in death, not knowing the value of a single breath. My pride was the biggest prize I had to protect, walking around high and mighty, sticking out my chest. Calling the shots like I know what's best, living how I like, but I piled up a debt. Outside's alive and aware the inside is dead, and suddenly truth shine just like the dawn. All things in life I knew 0%, then I realized how far I was gone. Wasn't right about anything, I was dead wrong. Everything thought to be reality was a fallacy. My life wasn't great, it was a tragedy. All I knew was fake, I thought I'm losing my sanity. All the while gazing at me was the Trinity, looking with love, grace, and mercy. Patiently working consistently with me, and eventually brought me to the new history. I learned about someone new whom they used. He worked with heaven and I learned his stories. He is living proof that the Bible's words are true. On the scene at 15, splitting every single seam. God's words flow from him like he's a stream, preaching to the point that even his throat would bleed. The most impressive person I have ever seen. Him speaking the truth revealed everything to me. Parables, holy son, soul entity, spiritual universe. Frankly, I don't think he's done. He's taught me 1,000 tons, too much for a single verse. This is so amazing to the point I may burst. I'm sure he's the one the Bible said would come. Where else would this earth-shattering word come from? Then I really realized he is the Messiah, sent to the world and raise humanity a level higher. Didn't come to destroy, but the word is the fire. Amen to the very end, my faith won't expire. He's been going 79 years and hasn't tired. Due to that condition, the greatest blessing we've acquired. Between him and the Trinity, that time was finally captured. I'm sure now that they got their bride, nothing can match her. Rapture, that's what we received. Was evangelized, lectured, managed, now I believe. Never knew this was something I could achieve. Your blessings really flow endlessly. I promise you, I'll never leave. So I'll stay with you to the death of me. With you I've fulfilled my destiny. Now I'll reboot, give you the best of me. Offering my youth, running even faster. For me and so many, you're not just a pastor. You're the shepherd over all these pastures. King of kings, Lord of lords, that's for sure. We're a perfect match, a hand and a glove. The atmosphere in the air is full of love. Came from above to hold the banquet. So I'll GGG eternally for 316. Just cause I was swept into the net of the word, heard and learned, doesn't mean it's over yet. I really need to look at myself and reflect, line up against God's perfect law and check. All my flaws need to be resolved. Be bold to slanderers when I try to call. Like him, I'm thankful for tribulations, cause I didn't fall. With the rapture, I'm standing tall. The love they give is truly priceless. If I'm not with the Lord, life enters crisis. Without him, I'm a ship that's wrecked to pieces. So I'll always eat the word. Box of Reese's, stick to him, red blood cell and Reese's. I praise God for sending Son, sing him, and Jesus. He had a plan for them before they were a fetus, to reveal to the world heaven's deep secrets. With his name, bring the pain, breaking Satan's noses. With the Lord's condition, let's show him a comatosis. While looking at heaven, never losing focus, conversing in our thoughts every single moment. Then our spiritual rapture will never be stolen. If you only see strife, come see what peace is. If you want to know heaven, come and see this. If life were an essay, this is the thesis. Rapture, that's what we received. Was evangelized, lectured, managed, now I believe. Never knew this was something I could achieve. Your blessings really flow endlessly. I promise you, I'll never leave. So I'll stay with you to the death of me. With you I've fulfilled my destiny. Now I'll reboot, give you the best of me. Offering my youth, running even faster. For me and so many, you're not just a pastor. You're the shepherd over all these pastures. King of kings, Lord of lords, that's for sure. We're a perfect match, a hand and a glove. The atmosphere in the air is full of love. Came from above to hold the banquet. So I'll GGG eternally for 316. Remember, this wasn't given for free, so always hear the word and do good deeds. Praising those that saved us is an amazing thing, and live with them in love. 1 John 3:18. Be like him, always run on God's team. If you live like him, you'll surely succeed. Believe him, absolutely, and gotta let you pass. If you want the greatest salvation, walk this only path.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And every Wednesday we do have the Bible history word study, and we're already deep into the book of Exodus. We're in chapters 21 through 25. We're doing 5 chapters per week. So every Wednesday, go look for the last segment, and you're going to find from Genesis chapter 1 all the way over to, from today will be until Exodus chapter 25. Okay? So let's start off with Exodus chapter 21. And I think this is a good exercise, good for us to go over, because it kind of makes us feel like we are reading the Bible together, the entire Bible. I'm not sure how many weeks it's going to take, but it's something that we are doing together. So I really, really enjoy this too. So Exodus 21. We're getting into the laws that God has set for the people so that the people have rights, which even includes slaves, both male and female. So this is a chapter I do think everyone should read when people think that God is sitting here and just like, oh, he's the one that promotes slavery. And the answer is no, it was cultural at that time. Everyone had slaves. It's according to the level of the people. And on top of it, God also makes sure that everyone has rights. Like, for instance, when God talks about Hebrew slaves, they're not slaves forever. They're slaves for only 6 years. 7th year, they're set free. And the slave has the choice to stay with his master forever if he wants. If he doesn't want to, he could just be set free. And when I was reading chapter 21 also, it even talked about the rights of female slaves, even those that are sold by their own father. So I thought that was quite interesting to read, that God is really caring about the individual. And even in a situation where they're in slavery, they have to pay off debts or whatnot, they're not there forever. And if they want to, they can choose to be there forever, right? It then goes into murder. And I like how even the Old Testament tells you the difference between first-degree murder, second-degree, and manslaughter, which basically means first degree is premeditated, which chapter 21 says if you have premeditated murder, then you're gonna die. Like you should be put to death, right? That is first-degree murder rules, right? And then after that, if you do not premeditate something that's in the heat of passion, you'll be treated a little bit differently than someone who premeditates murder. Here is the one that I thought was the most interesting, is the way you treat your parents, okay? Now, when I tell you the rules of how you treat your parents, when you guys hear this, you guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, how many children would die today if these were the rules? If you strike your parents, you die. How many times have you seen kids strike their parents? And guess what? It's not just striking. If you just curse your parents, you die. Gosh, today, that's the fifth commandment. Honor your father. It doesn't say obey. It says honor, which includes obey. Honor your father and your mother. If you just curse them, you die. Man, I thought to myself is how many children would actually die today if it was the rules of the Old Testament, or how much God wants us to honor our parents. There was something a little bit on abortion too. It wasn't like fully about abortion, but you can see where I'm coming from, because basically it said that if two men are fighting and then, you harm a pregnant woman and the baby dies, you die. Which basically talks about the value of a human life even when a woman is pregnant, right? So even if a woman is pregnant, that baby is considered a real life, that it's eye for eye, tooth for tooth, life for life. So if you kill a baby, even that's pregnant in the stomach, you will die too. That was, for me, I'm like, that's pretty much abortion, right? Animals is interesting too. Animals is, there's laws on animals because, today we would be thinking about, oh, what about my pet dog, my pet cat, what about my pet hamster, what about my pet cow, whatever it is, right? So I would say that, this is a little bit different than pets. This is talking about animals that you keep for your livelihood. It's interesting. It's more, and it's talking about the oxen, talking about the sheep, talking about the animals that you use for your work. And the laws are not so much about the animal itself. It's actually about the owner. So if an animal kills another animal, then you kind of just pay restitution, right? However, if the animal was known to thrust and thrash or attack people, and the owner didn't do anything about it, and then that animal kills another animal, then you're done. It's death to the owner because he knew that it was a pretty wild animal that was attacking people and yet did nothing about it. So it's more about the person itself, which moves us into Exodus 22, which is still talking about animals, but we're looking at it from the view of property. So animals are property of the owner. So stealing animals is stealing property. So you have to pay for the stealing of property. It was like something either 5-1, like sheep was 4-1 you have to pay. Cows, I think, oxen was like 5-1, I believe. And then here's an interesting one. And this reminds me of a law in America. Basically, if you're a thief and you come in at night and the owner, it's at night, it's dark, and the owner like hits you over the head and you die, it's okay. You're not held liable. This guy was coming in at night, you can't see, you clubbed him over the head, the person died, and it reminds me of some laws in America where if someone is breaking into your house and you protect yourself, you have the right to shoot the intruder. And if you kill them, you're not held liable. Why? Because they're committing a crime. They're coming into your public property. So that kind of reminded me of that type of rule. And it is something that in that situation, I do think, and this is what I'm just thinking right now. So please don't get ferocious on me right now. Imagine you're a girl living by yourself and some big guy comes in to break into your house. You don't know what he's going to do to you. In my head, I was like, wouldn't you want a gun at that time? You know what I mean? Like, even if you called the cops, it would still take 15 minutes for the cops to get there. And then that guy can do whatever he wants with you. Like, in my head, I was like, man, even if that guy didn't have a weapon, you'd still be in fear for your life, wouldn't you? And I thought to myself, yeah, in that situation, that's pretty crazy. In that situation, I would be thinking, man, you should have a gun to protect yourself. And I'm just saying in that situation, I'm not sitting there like saying, oh, we should have more guns. I'm totally not saying that, right? I know Sunsteam says don't have guns and stuff like that too. But I was just thinking about in that situation. So please don't freak out on me. I'm just thinking about that on the spot right now. But there are a lot of rules and laws about animals or even grains, right? Because grains is part of their livelihood. If you destroy another person's harvest, then you have to pay restitution for that too. And, these are the things that people of that time period are dealing with: harvesting, farming, animals. And that's because that's the time period back then. And that's why we have to understand is God is setting these laws in, and it's much more cultural because how many of us right now have animals for our livelihood, like cattle? No, we don't. How many of us are farmers? Zero. I would say zero of us are farmers. But we have to understand that this is having to do with the laws at that time for those people. The next rules that come in are more moral rules or ceremonial rules. And it's quite interesting because, like, sorcerers must die. If you sleep with an animal, not sleeping. I'm talking like, we know many people today sleep with their pets, but we're talking about, the extra curricular activity. When you sleep with an animal, you will die. If you sacrifice to another god, you will die. And there's a lot of rules in there about widows and fatherless children, and that's something that people should be treating them really, really well. And also for the poor, God really thinks about the poor. And he's like, hey, if you're poor, then you shouldn't charge interest to people who are poor, right? The people who are more well off, sure, charge interest if they're borrowing money for you for some business or whatnot. But when poor people come to you, give it to them without any interest. So I thought those were kind of interesting also. Exodus chapter 23. First thing it says is do not gossip. Don't go around saying stuff if you don't know it's true. Don't gossip, right? And there's another one is that stops mob mentality. Don't do something if you know nothing about it, and just because the crowd is doing it, it doesn't mean you should do it, right? And also, don't be biased. Don't be partial to the rich. Don't be partial to the poor. You have to treat everyone the same. It talks about Sabbath, which is obviously we know that Sunday, for us today in this society, Sunday is the Sabbath. You take the day off. But it also talks about the land. The land needs a break too. Every 6 years you work the land, and the 7th year you have to rest the land. And at the end of Exodus chapter 23, we do have that powerful verse. from Sunstop that talks about, oh, not from Sunstop. This is from the parables lesson that talks about the hornets. 23 verse 28, I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites. I will not drive them out before you in 1 year, right? So it's interesting though, because it starts off with, I will send an angel ahead of you. And this angel you must listen to. So I thought that was quite interesting to see that there's an angel that God sent ahead of them that they must listen to. I'm not actually sure what that means yet. So I'm not going to go into that. Exodus chapter 24. And after all the things that God talks to Israel about, God says, let's affirm this covenant. Let's make this promise. So Moses told the people all the words that God had said to them over the last 4 chapters. And all the people answered, we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. He rose early in the morning, built an altar at the front of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. He set young men of the children of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. Now, the end of Exodus 24, we're getting into when Moses goes up to receive the 10 commandments, right? So basically, the glory of the Lord rests on Mount Sinai. The cloud covers it for 6 days, and on the 7th day, God calls out to Moses from the clouds. So everyone at the bottom of the mountain is seeing the glory of God, like a consuming fire on top of a mountain, right? So can you imagine how crazy that is? And then Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, right? And while Moses was on the mountain, from Exodus chapter 25, he gets detailed instructions of what to put inside the tent of tabernacle, or like it hasn't been built yet. Very detailed to the length and width and everything else, height of the Ark of the Covenant, where the 2 tablets will be put into. And those, you guys, is a reference from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think this movie came out in 1979 or something like that, or 1977, something along that line. But one of my favorite movies, but it's about the Ark of the Covenant. Go ahead, take a look at that. And then also how to make the table for showbread and the lampstand. And the lampstand is quite interesting because what we know from what Sunstream talks about the lampstand is a symbol or parable for your mission, a mission. And in the holy place, not the most holy, the holy place, it is a 7-candle lampstand. Looks like, it's made out of, it's one piece of gold hammered into 7 candles. And it's called the menorah. And it is the only source of light in the holy place. In Revelations 1:20, interestingly, as we see more of the symbolism of it being a mission, it says that the 7 churches at that time, in Revelations 1:20, the lampstand, there's 7 lampstands, one for each of the 7 churches at that time. So each church has a lampstand, or each church has that mission, that absolute mission. And, we also know that people have mission too. If you look at Revelation chapter 11, verse 4, it's the 2 olive trees, right? And they are also 2 lampstands that have the missions to be the ones that testify for the one that God sent, right? So that is the lampstand, and that's the last thing we'll look at when it comes to Exodus chapter 25. And we'll go into the next 5 chapters next week too. But I hope it's something that you guys gained a lot from, because we are going 5 chapters at a time every single week, going a little bit deeper. The things that I know, the things I don't know, we just kind of go into it so you know that it's there. And, when we get into a little bit deeper, like with Numbers and Leviticus, it's going to be pretty rough. Because it's and then there's 40 talents of gold, 20 talents of silver, and it's going to be the repeating thing over and over and over and over again. So we will skim through those chapters. Okay? All right, so today we do have Health is Happiness. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. Today we're going to go into a 2-part series for this week and next week, and this is Julius talking about addiction. And this is something that's very, very interesting. I hope it's something that you guys can gain a lot from. But before that, let's get into the last music break of the day.
Yeah, Providence represents Sierra Leone, West Africa. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's the rapture. Our spirit needs to rapture. We reckon history together in this mission. We receive the new words, we receive the good words through the man of mission that receive the vision, that receive the wisdom and get all the passion. And get all the passion in this mission. Cause our God is the God of life, not a God of death. The providence is to make sure we represent. To become a bride who listens to the word of right. Come on, now, there is the word of life. There is the word of life. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come.
The rapture's time has come. If you're still waiting, ladies, it's better hear this one. Christ has come to the man on mission. Some sound hit this one and take action. You living out stop, you better wake up. Wake up and take this mission and stop. Let's move, come on, let's set this fall. Because this vision we must fulfill, say.
The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come.
Because of the rapture now we are in joy. So never for life to be destroyed. So now I can say, so now I can say, so now I can say, believe in joy, believe in joy. So now I can say, believe in joy. So now we are raptured.
The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come and I will live happily with our family. Cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come and I will live happily with our family. Cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. Cause the bridegroom has come.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment on this wonderful Wednesday. It is Health is Happiness. Hope you guys will enjoy this. This is Julius Mayumo. This is a repeat, but these are all information that we really, really need to hear over and over again. So please welcome Julius all the way over from Australia with Health is Happiness.
Hi everyone, Julius here, and welcome to the Health is Happiness segment, where we discuss the ways we can improve health for a happy life, both physically and spiritually. This is episode 7, and today we're going to introduce a new topic called addiction. So first of all, what is addiction? Much of the knowledge I will share on this topic comes from Dr. Anna Lembeck, who is the psychiatrist and chief of the Addiction Medicine Dual Diagnosis Clinic at Stanford University School of Medicine. She says the standard definition of addiction is the continued compulsive use of a drug or behavior despite harm to oneself and or others. Now I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering why talk about addiction, and I'll explain why a little bit later. But what's important to know first is that there is a spectrum of addiction. From one extreme we have the life-threatening drugs or alcohol addictions, and on the lower end of the scale we can find less severe ones like online shopping, for example, but the psychological attachment to the addiction and biochemistry behind it all fall into the same bucket. Addiction itself is considered very serious. At the same time, the word itself is used quite casually to refer to many behaviors, such that the understanding about what it actually is and how serious it can get is easily lost. For example, we may say, I'm addicted to coffee or I'm addicted to chocolate, but there's quite a distinction between a bad habit and a real addiction, though they do lie on the same spectrum. A bad habit is where an addiction starts, but once it's an addiction, even if it's not heavy drugs or alcohol, It is something that can really devastate lives, whether it's internet addiction, online shopping, pornography, sugar, adrenaline junkies doing parkour on the rooftops, money, or even fame. Let me paint a picture to illustrate the difference. Let's take coffee for instance. Imagine if your family and friends decide they will no longer associate with you and you're going to be fired from your dream job if you are found to be drinking coffee for the next 6 months. It's likely you'll give it up for 6 months if it's just a bad habit. If you're truly addicted, at some point along the line, you will take the risk and have that cup of coffee, even though clearly it's not worth it. This is the situation addicts are facing. It's not rational. It's not because they just want to get that high or they care about their drug of choice more than their actual life. The way Dr. Lemberg described it is, think of it like an itch, and as long as you're focused, you can avoid scratching it. But the moment you stop focusing, perhaps when you're asleep, you scratch that itch without even thinking. Now for most people who are addicted, that itch goes away after abstaining for 30 days. But for severe addictions, that itch never goes away 6 months later or even 6 years later. It's always there waiting for a lapse in concentration to put that person back into the ditch where they started. Severe addictions don't just form with extreme things like heavy drugs, alcohol, gambling, or sex. And this is a big reason I wanted to spread awareness and understanding about the topic. There can be addictions to attention, which is fame, or work addiction, or addictions to certain emotions like anger, and phone addiction. The other main reason I wanted to share this is because anyone is actually capable of developing a harmful addiction, even if everything in your life is really in order. This second point really surprised me when Dr. Lemberg mentioned it. Let me just correct myself, it's Dr. Lemke. I've actually been saying it wrong this whole time. Anyways, she found that there doesn't necessarily need to be a reason behind your addiction. You can just become addicted. Often we think that one needs to have life problems or a willpower problem or psychiatric problems such as PTSD or unresolved trauma from the past. However, that is not the case. Those things do make people more at risk of developing an addiction, but it's not a prerequisite. Especially in this day and age where there's so many things literally designed with the intention to make you addicted, it's become a problem that she found was affecting people from all walks of life. She shared this story of a high-profile lawyer in New York who clearly had the discipline to establish a very elite career. He had a great family and was considered a good person, liked and respected by those around him. Yet, he was leading this double life with an addiction. It was a big news story that shocked most people. Now, for most people, we may not be dealing with such severe forms of addiction, but even the more minor ones still have a significant impact on the quality of one's life, both physically and spiritually. And this is mostly what I want to address by discussing this topic of addiction. Although there's a certain threshold on the spectrum that requires professional help and rehabilitation programs for one's recovery. Dr. Lemke mentioned it's helpful to see an addiction like a disease. Now, for the regular cold, you can be just fine going and taking some cold medicine, but once it gets to pneumonia or bronchitis, can't say that word, there is no shame in seeking help from the doctor who will tailor your treatment to your specific needs. Now, I say this because there's immense shame and stigma surrounding addiction, which is one of the reasons a lot of addicts stay in denial of their condition or live in fear of judgment and so fail to seek help, which is very unfortunate. That being said, the patient also has to be ready to willingly accept the disciplined work required on their end to undertake a recovery program. Seeing the recent developments of Pastor John opening up the conversation surrounding mental health, I think has been very, very beneficial. It's also wonderful that her and Sansanim are also making the move to have professional Providence counselors in the churches. I think it adds so much value to deal with such issues with more empathy and more effectiveness. Now, before we go deep into the science, I want to share some of the things that I've found through researching the Word. At times when I'm facing problems in faith, or just daily life in general, I go to Heaven's Culture and do a keyword search and try to find some answers from the message. As we all know, the breadth and depth of Sansanim Word is so incredibly immense. So doing this exercise has helped me so much. Truly, we're blessed in Providence to have access to such tremendous Word. I did this a while back when I was trying to uproot some of those bad constitutions that were being really stubborn. One thing I noticed is that time and time again, the scientific research ended up coming out that eventually explained the how and why the Word was true. Personally, I find this really cool just because I'm a science nerd, and it helps me understand the Word that much more deeper. The great thing about the Word is it gives you the very core fundamental wisdom that would require you to do immense amount of research and study just to end up coming to the same conclusion. It's really amazing because none of us have the time to become the expert in every single field, but the Word gives you the core of different areas. That's at least been my personal experience. So today I will only share the Proverbs, and next episode I'll go deeper into the science. So let's get started. The first set of Proverbs comes from the 6th of August 2017 from the message, "Wake up your brain fundamentally. Do not be addicted to stimulation." So here it goes. The body will move well only if the brain is stimulated and excited. However, if you keep doing only stimulating things for the sake of being stimulated, your brain will ultimately become addicted to that. If you like salty food, you will keep eating too salty. As a result, you will ultimately taste the saltiness later only if you heap heaps of salt. That means that you have become addicted to saltiness, and your health will ultimately fail too. If you like sweetness, you will keep eating sweeter and sweeter foods. Later, you will only taste the sweetness only if you eat heaps of sugar. That means that you have become addicted to sweetness. Ultimately, your health will fail too. The brain is a bundle of nerves, so it gets stimulated endlessly. If you only give it stimulation constantly, you will ultimately become addicted to stimulation. The internet, TV, movies, pornography, games, etc., all of them were made with stimulation as the goal. Modern people are constantly exposed to such things, so they are ultimately addicted to stimulation. Since they constantly see, hear, and do the stimulating worldly things, they look for things that are more stimulating in order to receive greater and greater stimulation. So when they see something that is average, their eyes and ears are not satisfied and they don't think about it. Some people feel stimulation from drinking or doing drugs or looking at things on the internet. If you keep looking at and experiencing things like that, your eyes, ears, and thoughts and life will ultimately get addicted to them. Later, you will be unable to feel joy or delight when you look at normal things. Wicked people and slanderers write provocative things and post them on the internet for people to read. They act in that way because their brains have become addicted according to their deeds. If you feel only when you're stimulated in a certain way, it means you have already been addicted. Wednesday message for 27th of October 2010. When it comes to addiction or indulgence, it does not show on the surface at first, but slowly one slips into the trap and falls off the cliff in the end. If you repeat a certain thing dozens of times, it becomes a habit, which you become comfortable with, and eventually it becomes a natural part of your daily life. Proverbs about constitution reform for the Holy Spirit movement. If you don't change your body's nature, and don't fix your heart, you will continue to remain at that level being anxious. In order to become a fisherman, you must first train your body so it won't get seasick and you can withstand the treacherous waves. You must also reform your heart so it will be like a fisherman. In this way, make sure you always change their nature before doing anything. If you reform your body's nature, reforming your heart is also easy. Once you reform your nature and reform your heart, it's easy to obey the Lord's word. From that point forward, you will do things like an automatic machine. So there you go, lots of wisdom from the word. I highly recommend to go and find those messages and read the whole thing. It's really, really good. That's it for today's episode on addiction part 1. Next time we will continue this topic and delve deeper into the science. If you'd like me to elaborate on any particular points, please drop a comment below. See you all next Wednesday on the next episode of Health is Happiness.
And that's a big thank you to Julius for another wonderful episode of Health is Happiness. We just got some gold nuggets of health here. We hope that in the future, guys, keep praying for this, that we can get more episodes coming out too. There is so much out there for us to realize about health. And I really, really hope that we'll really be able to get more of this information out. And I know that we have we have professionals, we have doctors, we have dentists, we have physiotherapists, we have them all out there. So let's pray that they'll be able to also bring in more newer episodes also. All right. Well, there it is, guys. That is today's Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your Wednesday service tonight. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.